Veterans Day, what's going on here in Rhode Island?
The Dan York State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Taco Comfort Solutions.
I hope that everybody knows we have a director of Veterans Affairs here in the state, the first, and we haven't had a chance to meet with him, so I'm happy to do that tonight and kind of touch base on a whole bunch of things, veterans issues-wise. Oh, I know we're a day late, but production was off for the evening last night, and I thought maybe it was important to follow up. You know, one of the things that I'm always concerned about is that we get kind of focused in on 2 days. Memorial Day, which ends up being a picnic day. And I think it ought to break our collective hearts that there's not enough focus on what that day is supposed to mean. And then Veterans Day comes and goes, and a lot of the issues surrounding veterans issues sometimes gets put back to page 2. This is just the day after, but this is something that you ought to know about. There's continuing programming going on here in the state of Rhode Island regarding the issues that come up, and I'm really intrigued as to how much depth the state of Rhode Island provides for our veterans versus federal help and all that kind of stuff. So we'll get into that tonight. Nice to have you in. Thanks for what a miserable day today. Oh, the post-election malaise, I can feel it kind of coming into everybody. For some, it's like, thank God it's over. For those of us in media, we think, guess what? There's a world other than just who's running and who's polling and who's losing. And then there's a world of devastation in California, which I think is just unbelievable when we look at the headlines here and some of the video that continues to show us that there are more and more victims that will be counted, and we've got a president of the United States who's decided that he's going to blame before he understands exactly how. For those of you who think that California is paradise, it is so tragically ironic that the town that's been lost is called Paradise. Thoughts and prayers. By the way, the American Red Cross has numbers set up for your contributions. I would go to the website and dig in there because they're going to need your help. In the meantime, coming back here at home and post-election, there's been a movement now of Me Too momentum in this state for quite some time, obviously as a part of the national movement. But all of a sudden, the Speaker of the House, I guess, senses some urgency. Headline here, this wouldn't be happening without his blessing, I don't think. Ted Nesi, who put out a pretty provocative story only a week before the election, has this follow-up and new news on a potential piece of legislation.
State Rep Chris Blazajewski says it's clear the General Assembly needs a formal procedure to deal with sexual harassment, and he thinks a recent scandal in Massachusetts offers a path forward. Last month, Target 12 revealed a March email from State Rep Catherine Kazarian alleging she endured years of sexual harassment by then Judiciary Committee Chairman Cale Keeble. Keeble, who denies the allegations, lost his re-election race last week. On Monday, Representative Chris Blazajewski unveiled a bill to address harassment in the legislature. His plan? Hire an equal employment opportunity officer to investigate complaints, establish a special committee on professional conduct to recommend discipline, and have the full House and Senate vote on punishments. Blazajewski was not available to go on camera, but said in a statement, it is critical that the General Assembly reform its policies and procedures relating to sexual harassment, discriminatory harassment, and related retaliation. Blazajewski modeled his plan on recent changes made in Massachusetts after a harassment scandal there involving the husband of the Bay State Senate president. John Marion heads good government group Common Cause Rhode Island.
It's good to see a member of the House leadership take a step to putting in place a process to deal with claims of sexual harassment, because we know it's a problem. It's going to take a little while to shape that into something that is hopefully really useful, but it's a good first step.
House Speaker Nicholas Mattiello says he's working with Representative Blazajewski on a new policy to deal with sexual harassment. Meanwhile, Representative Kazarian tells me she is also looking to address the issue, saying, quote, all legislators deserve to represent their communities and engage in the political process free from harassment and retaliation.
This is going to become a spectacle, it seems to me. The story of Representative Kazarian is not done yet. Ted Nesi, I'm sure, is not done on his follow-up on that story, and I'm not certain that it's an easy walk from November to January for the Speaker to actually retain his position, no matter that the caucus has already voted him in. Some folks haven't yet spoken on this latest saga that inspires this new proposed piece of legislation, which is happening at a time when no legislation is heard. Stay tuned on that one. All right, let's get to the business of the important conversation tonight. Headlines, of course, many commemorations, folks coming out for celebrations over the course of the weekend. Of course, Sunday was the 11th, and Monday was the day of observance. But there's new stuff going on here in the state. The governor launches a statewide coordination network for veteran service members and families, and here's the gentleman who heads up that effort. Nice to meet you on the program.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Kasim is the director of Rhode Island Veterans Affairs. Do we have an orientation? Do enough people know that we've got one?
I think we do.
Yeah.
With our social media presence. I remember when I first accepted the position, my staffer, he's like, Director, you need to be heavily involved in social media. And as a career Navy guy with OPSAT and stuff like that too, I kind of shunned it initially. And but I remember back when the governor, when I did my initial interview with the boss, he said, Director, this job is being be out in the public. Well, in order to be out in the public, leaning forward, I need to show that I'm out in the public, and by doing. And what better way to champion that effort and utilize those vehicles via Twitter, Facebook, and listening to the younger generation, I'm now actively involved on Instagram. And so I embrace it as a public servant, steward for the taxpayer, veteran. My job is to be as transparent as humanly possible. That includes being out doing town hall events, listening to our elderly population.
Who are not on Instagram.
Absolutely not. Far from it. An email, what's that? You talk about an app. They think about an appetizer.
Right.
So those nuances associated with this, and I got to reach out to them. But also, I can't assault the intelligence of the younger generation that's actually involved in social media. They check emails on a frequent basis.
So this is interesting. I'm intrigued about this conversation. What is it that, and define the younger generation, what is it that you're trying to build when it comes to young people as an orientation to the work that you are doing?
We have the modern military force is more diverse than ever. Younger generation. But this generation, they don't join the VFWs, the American Legions. That's not what they're about. But they
you mean
still,
the young generation of veterans?
Correct.
I get you.
Correct. But I think the veteran population is a depiction of society. Smaller, but still a depiction nonetheless. So the younger generation, millennial types, they're all into technology, but yet they don't join the VFWs and those type of programs. But they join programs like Team Wear Red and Blue, more spiritual uplifting, doing nature walks together, talking about things in that regard too. So I have to make sure I reach out to them as well. Social media has been a great tool. We have students that are all out throughout the campuses here, so I have an active presence on all of our campuses to reach out with their veteran coordinators, some of which have full-time, some of them have part-time. My role is to say every veteran in the state has a voice, and I am their go-to, the conduit to get them services.
So when we think of the term veteran, it conjures up for me, an older person. What does the data say about how many millennials? I forget the names of the generations. I mean, I'm a baby boomer, one of the last ones.
So Gen X, my group is like the Gen X,
right
at the front end of the millennial generation. And so,
I mean, you served how many years in the Navy?
My career span 25 years.
25 years.
Correct.
All right. So,
started out in '91.
What's the data say? First of all, how many veterans do we have here in the state?
61,000.
61,000.
61,000 vets. 70% of that veteran population over age 55. We are on average, we're getting roughly a month, we're getting roughly 25 to 40 veterans transitioning back. So service members that serve, to include our National Guard, both Army and Air Reserve, are transitioning back. And so what I do is, we have a DoD, Department of Defense, requires service members to go through a week-long course called TAP class, Transition Assistance Program. It's held in Newport once a month. I provide opening remarks to kick off that week-long course of instruction. Roughly, like I said, 20 to 25 service members are transitioning back home. And so I talk to them about VA healthcare system, Talk to them about joining veteran service organizations, updating their resumes. What's your plan for your transition plan to include whatever decision you make? You got to include your loved ones, because now it's not about you. It's not about being told where you go. It's about what your decisions, your lifelong decisions you need to make now, what door you need to go down, and to include, make sure your family members and significant others are also brought into that process.
It's a different world. We'll come back and talk more about that transition. Stay with us. So the movie Wall is arriving in Rhode Island, and I want to get to that momentarily. There's a conversation here, though, I think that's important when it comes to veterans and treatment and transition and the like. You kind of read my mind as we took the break, Director. There's this tough image and life lesson that America has learned when it comes to Vietnam veterans and how they were treated when they came back. I think
or mislearned. Or mislearned sometimes.
Or mislearned, meaning?
That we don't enroll our veterans right away into the VA healthcare system. So we experience with the younger generation, they transition, oh, I'm fine, I'm young, I'm full of life, but I don't go enroll in the VA healthcare system. Then 5, 10 years later, I'm starting to have some type of issue. And then if I wish I would, but listening, because our Vietnam vets, they didn't come home, they tried to go to the VA healthcare system, they were shunned. Now we're coming back now because they're our largest, by far and large, they are our largest population, our vet population. So now they're starting to come to the VA healthcare system. So when I say mislearned, our younger generation need to learn from our
to get
Vietnam.
In now.
Exactly.
To be oriented to what?
Precisely.
Well, talk to me about what we've learned about how we treated our Vietnam vets. I mean, we've only had about 50 shows on this over the course of time, but from your perspective, what is it that we've most learned to do or not to do?
Well, number one, they served. Tell them welcome home. When I meet
Seems basic,
it's the simple things in life, Dan. Every Vietnam vet that I come across my desk, I allow them the first 15 minutes to talk, just to share their story. I tear up. Almost 99% of the time when I talk about Vietnam, I tear up. I was born in '72. So coming at the tail end of it, and I joined when I was 91, not too far removed. I'm saying, will we learn? Have we learned? Or will I be treated the same way that Vietnam vets were? And so hear them talk, put my arms around them, tell them to welcome home. Can't say it enough. But that inspires me to go engage our younger generation of vets. To say, hey, listen, as you're transitioning out, document your records, go get enrolled in the VA healthcare system. We hear horror stories about the VAs across the nation, which is sad. But the 6 states, New England states, we're getting that part right. We're blessed to have the leadership from our Providence VA Medical Center and our benefits office. They have open door policies. If you're a veteran not getting the quality service that you need, you can go right and talk to them right away. I have their phones on speed dial. Director McKenzie, she gives her personal cell phone out to veterans. That's unprecedented. But we're getting it right here in Rhode Island.
It sounds to me like you try to have a real hands-on approach with these individuals.
As a leader, that's the only way I know how to do it.
How big is your staff?
Well, we have, my staff members consist of 227. I have 13 staff members at our cemetery. I have over 200 at our, 220 at our home, our new Bristol Veterans Home, which is phenomenal. Right. And I have 5 core staff members in my office providing outreach at the Resource Center. But
you end up seeing individuals in the state who think that they have nowhere to go, or you do triage yourself?
We do full spectrum operation, I like to call it too, with our Rhode Island Serves initiative, no wrong door approach. If a veteran that's at risk of being homeless or homeless come to our doors, we have through our collaborative network, we can get them access to help rapidly in that capacity. Then we have the veterans that transition that need some help regarding their employment. Through our network, we partner with Department of Labor and Training to help them get that. We have this veterans that are transitioning that need access to utilize their benefits to go to our institutional higher learning. We partner with Director Dan Messier at Higher Ed and to get them access to URI, for an example. The URI, to their credit, just hired a full-time veteran coordinator. Their sole purpose lies to assist veterans with the items that they may need, and they partner with our office and our collaborative network to help them out in that capacity.
So tell me what the wall being here does to start off a whole bunch of programs you're working on.
Well, it kicked off Veterans Day weekend times 2 weeks, I would call it now. So that's how jam-packed my schedule with events ranging from Ponagansett High School with the moving wall from November 1st to the 5th to visiting various high schools, middle schools, elementaries, just to say, director, come talk to our students. Tell us what it means to be a veteran. How do we honor Veterans Day? And I tell you, when I walked in Ashaway, Slayersville, it's just been phenomenal, the outreach. These are our youth. And I guess as an adult, a strong sense of purpose that it is up to us to continue to educate, but also give our youth the tools that they need to be successful. That, these men and women, they raise their right hand and take the oath. The water fire event, we had enlistees for the first time took the oath of enlistment. The future of America, defenders of freedom, taking an oath on the State House lawn for the first time. And that was a nice little segue from honoring our elderly vet population to we have our youngest defenders of freedom all processing together on the State House lawn as we were processed through the city of Providence. And it's magical knowing that as a director, I get to lead that effort. But that effort, when I say lead in a relative term, because I can't do the work without the work of our medical center. I can't do the work without the General Assembly, through the governor's leadership, through our nonprofits, veteran service organizations like the VFWs, the American Legions, the DAVs of the world, and while also simultaneously reaching out to all our campuses to talk to the teams like Team Red, White, and Blue, the younger generation, to listen to them. What are their concerns? With the younger generation, a little different. Their priorities are education, employment, healthcare, and legal services. Whereas the elderly population is more along the lines of healthcare, benefits, and what have you. So all of those different segments, at the end of the day, they're all Islanders and they're veterans that serve this great nation.
That's a big job.
I'm a big guy.
Huh?
I'm a
You're
big guy.
Big guy for a big job. A little bit more and more. Come back. Stay with us. Less and less of the population showing up for things that are Memorial Day and Veterans Day over the course of the years. I've noticed that. You have a take on that?
I'm a glass half full type of guy, Dan. So I think it's up to us as leaders is to continue to educate, remember, honor, and teach. Remember our fallen in terms of Memorial Day. And when you talk to our Gold Star family members, for them, every day is Memorial Day. So every time I talk about Veterans Day, I'm also mindful about the Gold Star family members that are in the audience as well. So I always carve out a bit of time in my speech just to talk about them, to touch them a little bit as well, to kind of bridge that gap regarding the significant role that our veterans have played. It's so important to continue to do the town halls in the municipalities that don't necessarily want to drive all the way to the Providence VA Medical Center. So I take the show on the road to them, like when we're doing a town hall coming up in Smithfield this weekend, because I think that's so important. Going to the campuses, to the younger generation, like I said before, that's another segment. They told me, Director, we need you on Instagram. We don't do Facebook anymore. That's for the elderly, the older group.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
So I begrudgingly, but I listened to them, and now the younger generation of veterans are starting to follow me on Instagram. So that means it's working. The tweets are alive and well, but again, just to keep the message out in that regard too. So, but then they look at the other parts. We talk about the Veterans Day, going from transitioning from Memorial Day, which are on our fallen, to Veterans Day, getting the word out, and public speaking. But I know there's hope because the administrators, the superintendents from the various school districts are reaching out to me directly. Director, come talk to our students. So that means we don't give them a hold of them, Dan, but there's a chance, and I think I'm going to take advantage by going out to those schools, and going out doing outreach into the far reaches of our municipalities, that they don't leave their own towns, but I'm driving up. So that's about the beauty of the job. I get to drive all the state.
I think it's great. I think one of the things, and I kick myself sometimes because even more than a decade ago, I was brainstorming with some political leaders and just never got off the ground. But maybe we got to revisit the whole project. But I do think that the school systems could play a significant role in formalizing their honor of Veterans Day and Memorial Day. It seems to me that it's a day off And despite what I'm sure is great efforts on your part to integrate the school systems with important conversations, it seems to me that we're going to have to build a recognition there on a more formal level. I don't know if it's something that's mandatory curriculum. You know, I'd like to see Veterans Day be something that ends up being mandatory, or at least highly suggested, you know, attendance at local Veterans Day parades, where schools are sponsoring and kind of, you know, owning, just like we do litter on the highways. Maybe we should be schools sponsoring particular events and the likes. It just seems to me that there's a big space there, and thank God we don't have the kind of world wars that we're looking at in the past. We have a lot of conflict in the world, but the branding of war and the veteran experience and our embrace of it seems to be. We seem to be losing it just a little bit.
So 2 points real quick. Commissioner Ryder talked about that very same thing, so we echo your sentiments in that regard too. So we're working on a long-term plan to address that. In December, Reefs Across America. It started out with a nonprofit where we go through various grave sites to honor our fallen. And so we started out with Pontiac Middle School a couple years ago. Last year, we branched out Gulf Middle School. They're doing it now. So this is their second annual event. And we got a couple more schools that have asked me to come and join them. And so we have started out with one school, elementary school. Now we've branched out to 4. And so it's starting, we're making progress.
Yeah, that's an entrepreneurial approach by various school administrators, and I applaud it, but I just wonder if it's something that needs to be done on a more systematic level.
Something the Commissioner and I are looking at. We're definitely looking at that.
All right, good conversation. What do you want people to think about as you continue with this important week? We only have a minute.
Thank our veterans. If you have a veteran that's in crisis or in need, reach out to my office, 401-921-2119. We're essentially located at 560 Jefferson Boulevard. Please walk in off the street if need be. Reach out and help. There are ways. We have our new website launched 2 years ago, vets.ri.gov. We have our Rhode Island Serve Collaborative Network No Wrongdoing Initiative, rhodeislandserves.org, riserves.org, and another way you can reach out to us as well.
All right, listen, all that information, you didn't write it down? I can't believe that. All that information is on our website at foxprovidence.com. We always post all that data for you, so you can always follow up if you miss any part of the program, or if you need the information as you're seeing there on the screen. This next town hall meeting, by the way, is Friday evening, correct?
Saturday. Saturday, 10 a.m.
Oh, Saturday.
Saturday, 10 a.m. 10
I don't know which one I'm looking at there. What was that? Saturday, 10 a.m.
But Friday, the VA town hall. So that's a quarterly town hall at Providence VA Medical Center.
Gotcha.
That's Friday at 2 o'clock.
All right, you got all that? Swear we'll have it on the website. Honor to meet you.
Same thing, sir. Thank you for your service.
Thanks for your service. When we come back, final word. I think that message about our younger veterans getting engaged and involved in the process is an important thing. The resources seemingly are there, and you ought to tap into it. Coming up this week, we're going to start to talk to some of the candidates who've won, some of the new voices and perspective heading to the State House and other elected positions here in the state. So if you happen to be one and you feel like you just haven't had enough space to throw your elbows around a little bit, let us know, because that's kind of our mission over the next few weeks. Glad to have you aboard. Thanks very much for tuning in. We'll talk to you on the radio tomorrow at 3 on WPRO. Stay dry. See ya.